Sometimes a picture can hold secrets you were never meant to know.
And as you can see behind me here, we have a few gravestones,
Blurry shadows that were never there, danger looming behind you, and misplaced moments from another timeline.
Seemed to be somebody in a white suit with a black visor over his face.
Yes, it all sounds insane. But when you see what we've got in store today, you'll be convinced that maybe, just maybe, our cameras capture things that were never supposed to be there.
Hey, what is that, ghost child?
How much farther to this Tyson or whatever you call the confounded place? Ashiampa? Oh, shouldn't be long now.
Here's a glorious clip from the John Wayne movie Fort Apache, made back in 1948. And yet, like the reoccurring theme has been built, the movie shows a small glimpse of an old Motorola. If someone really traveled back in time with a phone, it's strange that they'd show it off in a movie. Wouldn't that catch the director's attention? Plus, without any cell towers in 1948, the phone wouldn't work at all. It just doesn't add up. But even then, this is all too strange because what else could it be?
What a patch. Blast an ungrateful War Department that sends a man to a post out here.
Set in stone.
Here, just before dawn, for the first time in our history, American homes will be exposed to atomic blast.
When you're playing with fire, expect to get burned. But this house took the heat like a champ. This house withstood the impact of the Apple II nuclear test while others around it were reduced to rubble. In the house, there were creepy mannequins arranged as if time had stopped, forever affected by radiation.
Two-story homes, wooden, brick, block, different distances from the ground zero to see what the effects would be from the blast and the heat.
What really gave the chills about the scene was not just the sight of a seemingly undisturbed home, but the dark truth behind it. It's one of those photos that gives you the creeps at first, but when you learn more, you realize the story behind it is even more chilling.
Those mannequins that had radiation content, they never got them back, but the rest of them that didn't, they took them back. What they did with them, I don't know.
Digital deja vu. The world's first smartphone didn't hit the markets until the early 1990s, and even then it didn't have a camera. So why wouldn't we find it strange to see a woman in the 80s holding up what looks like a smartphone to film a TV show? This video has been out on the internet for decades, but is just now resurfacing, because there's clearly something going on. Like all conspiracies, there were a few logical explanations for this one, like some explaining how this could be a Kodak. But to be fair, it looks entirely different and just somehow doesn't match up. Plus, if you take a closer look at the woman, it's like she knows she messed up. Phantom figure. The pitter-patter of feet, the slight taps on the kitchen counter, and the constant feeling that you're being watched. But the moment you look behind, there's nothing there. This was the ordeal one internet user was experiencing until they decided they'd had enough and decided to take a picture of their kitchen, and this is what they captured. At first glance, it looks just like a creepy dark kitchen, but look at the door on the right. If I'm not mistaken, that is some sort of figure. The scariest part is that whoever captured this claimed they couldn't see the figure in reality. They even checked out the house, but nothing but them and this picture. The musket soldier. Here's something you would have usually chalked off to pareidolia. But the closer you look, the more you realize there truly is something. This picture dates back a couple of years, when a group of friends reunited a couple of smokes and jokes. A picture taken to cherish their memorable moments ended up capturing the spirit of a Civil War musketeer soldier. He was even holding the musket close. But here's the kicker. Although the group of friends didn't realize it then, once they did, they also discovered where they'd been camping out was near Gettysburg, one of the prime locations of the American Civil War. Perhaps the soldier's spirit was still lurking because he never made it home. Mirror bound. You might want to brace yourselves for this one. It's pretty chilling. A couple of years ago, a woman went on a vacation with her husband and children to Malacca, Malaysia. Unfortunately, her youngest kid came down with a fever, so she had to stay cooped up in the hotel. While there, she sent this picture to her brother, who immediately asked her who was in the mirror. And here's where things took a terrifying turn. Although they initially assumed it might be her daughter just appearing weird in the mirror, both of her kids were tucked away in bed, sleeping. And when she checked, there was nobody there. The kid figure perhaps only appeared momentarily. Last man standing. Here's a photo uploaded by a university student who wanted some insight into a picture that had been hung on a board on campus. The photo was taken near an old mine, with one worker focusing on the equipment in front of him. But take a look at the columns behind him, and just a couple of columns from his shoulder. There's a ghostly face, one that's clearly etched in a terrifying manner. People theorized this may be the spirit of an old mine worker, but never made it out. But something about this just screams horror. Ancient resident. In the late 1800s, when only a couple of elite families were able to access a device like a camera, it was the latest fashion to gather all your family members and take a picture. But because cameras weren't really advanced, they were able to capture things that apparently weren't there. This photo was taken in 1985. Skolkovosk, a town in Russia. And while it looks like a family-friendly picture, it seems like there was an unwanted guest standing in for the photo. Just at the back, the silhouette of a man passing by. It is believed to be the house owner who long passed when this was taken, but it seems he was watching over the family all along. Kids mania. As a parent, one of the most terrifying things is finding out your kids interacted with a suspicious stranger. But nothing beats the fear when you're the only one who can't see the stranger. I know it all sounds so insane, but this picture was taken by a parent whose 3 kids were standing over the fence, talking to someone. The parent didn't see anyone, so they assumed the kids were talking to themselves and playing around. However, once they took another glance at the picture, they saw a ghostly face and realized that's who the children were talking to. The worried parent even approached the neighbor, but even they didn't know who it was. The Wailing Ghost. A Redditor shared this photo of her mother-in-law and sister-in-law. As the mother-daughter duo posed for a heartwarming picture, an evil force radiated behind, eventually materializing into a ghostly figure standing tall, with hatred written across its face. The weird part is that the mother-in-law didn't realize what she captured at the time, but when she did, she wasn't too terrified. Apparently, strange things kept happening around the house, but she never really understood what was going on until she took this picture. That's one brave mother-in-law. If I were her, I would have changed houses before the ghost could say boo. The Third Sister. 20 years ago, somewhere in a house in the US, a little girl could wake up from night terrors. Her parents tried consoling her, but nothing would work. She was terrified of their house for some reason, and eventually the family decided to move, but not before they took a photo of the girl and her sister as a sweet memory. It wasn't until 15 years later, in 2019, that they would realize the picture didn't just have the 2 sisters, but a third person leering from the hallway, staring straight ahead. The picture was uploaded by the same little girl who claimed her night terrors stopped the night they moved out, and it's a good thing they did. The Grave Visitor. In 2016, someone decided to take a picture of a Scottish ruin in a prehistoric burial park using a 1930s TLR Rolleiflex camera. The results were pretty unnerving, let's just say that. In the left window, you can see the silhouette of a man staring out with unignorable emotions in his eyes. Now, while it's easy for some of us to chalk it off as just a misprint, or perhaps long exposure of an old camera, the man who uploaded this photo also uploaded this. The negative film flipped here, and you can see some of the silhouette of the same man on the right. What if it's the ghost of one of the thousands buried under there? Retro Rebel. This is one of the most famous pictures, and for good reason. It proves time travel is real. This photo was taken in 1941. And just take a look at the hipster man standing third from the bottom on the right, and you can tell right away his attire is something that's literally beyond the times. Sporting sunglasses, a hoodie, and holding what looks like a DSLR. This man is clearly a time traveler who perhaps wanted to capture history in reality. A few have tried to debunk this, saying he's holding a Kodak, but that doesn't match the retractable lens. Even the sunglasses that look like that go back as far as 1944, a couple years later from this picture. The Great Greta. Many wonder why a person like Greta Thunberg, someone so young, be so worried about the environment. Well, now they've come up with a theory that Greta Thunberg is actually a time traveler who travels across eras. Not only has she been to the future, but she's also been to the past. And here's proof of that. The resemblance is uncanny. Even if you claim she's just a descendant, this photo was taken in Dominion Creek, Yukon Territory in 1898, and that's nowhere close to where she or her predecessors would live. Perhaps she saw how terrible the world got because of our carelessness and decided to stick around to ensure we don't destroy the Earth. Unionized service. Bernice Abbott, an American photographer, captured the hustle and bustle of the Union Square in San Francisco, California on July 16, 1936. Little did he know he would also capture a time traveler trying to make a quick getaway. You see the guy holding up a cell phone to his ears? Well, the first handheld cell phone was a Motorola Dynacatac, which wasn't announced until 1973 and didn't even begin manufacturing until the 1980s, which means this photo, dated 1936, proves this guy is a time traveler. Even if he were holding an old mobile phone, it wouldn't be a handheld one, which only proves time travelers have been traversing across eras much longer than we think. Antique collar. Check out this video of a 1938 movie. Looks pretty nostalgic, right? But as the women step out, so does one who's clearly holding a cell phone to his ears. But it seems she's quickly realizing she's being filmed and puts it down. Back then, many movie scenes were randomly filmed, so her reaction makes sense. She probably wasn't expecting to be filmed, much less star in a movie. Over the years, there have been many theories about what it could be. Perhaps a compact mirror or a different device. But nothing adds up. And if she's able to successfully communicate in the past, who was on the receiving end? Timeless celebration. Let's take a trip back a couple of decades. The date is June 17, 1962, in Chile, Brazil, has just beaten Czechoslovakia in the finals, winning the 1962 FIFA. The Brazilian captain, Mauro Ramos, holds the World Cup high, with photographers rushing to capture this timeless celebration. And just at the bottom is a man holding a foldable phone to take a picture. The world's first foldable phones weren't introduced until 2004, which means whoever this guy is, he's clearly traveled back in time to capture perhaps his favorite player live for his glory. But it raises the question, what era did he travel from? A beloved visitor. If you've ever lost a loved one, you know how much that last goodbye means. But maybe they aren't really gone. Maybe they hang around in spirit watching over us. This wedding photo was shared by the groom online, who only realized there was somebody in the shadows after his wife pointed it out. Here you can clearly see a not-so-ghostly silhouette, as if whoever this is alive and still there. But there was nobody inside, and the groom recognized this as his great-grandma, who passed away a couple of years before he said "I do." As chilling as it is, it's also oddly sweet. Russia's sovereign. Putin is arguably one of the strongest reigning world leaders. But what if he's got more than just his power helping him out? Ever wondered how he keeps moving forward? As if he just knows what's coming ahead? What if he does? A picture from the 1920s shows a young Putin dressed as a soldier, and then another photo from the 1940s. Now, isn't this unusual? Except if it really is Putin, he shouldn't have survived long enough to once again be serving in a uniform in 2015. Now that's unusual indeed. Is he using the military as cover to travel across eras without being caught? Alpha Beta type. A strange new conspiracy theory is circulating, but this time it's not about aliens or secret government projects. Instead, it claims that an ancient Greek statue from around 100 BC shows something out of place, a woman gazing at what looks like a modern laptop or digital device. Some theorists believe this could be proof that the Oracle of Delphi predicted future technology, like laptops, and shared the vision with the ancient world. And what if they were able to predict this because someone from this era traveled back in time and hinted at it all? Interstellar. Traveling through space and time is a concept we've dreamt about for ages before we actually did it in the late 1950s. So why is it called the Cathedral of Salamanca? In Spain sports an astronaut among its many walled sculptures, especially since the cathedral was constructed and opened to the public in the late 17th century. Sure, back then people were still dreaming about the constellations, but traveling there seemed far-fetched, unless somebody decided to take a trip across eras and accidentally revealed their secret to someone involved in the cathedral's construction. That can't be true, right? Spoiled habits. Kids nowadays, they're attached to their devices at the hip, so prying an iPad away from them is a hard task. And well, it looks like something similar happened a century ago in 1940. A kid holding what looks like an iPad waiting in line at the theater. Here's the thing. What if someone figured out time travel and is freely moving across timelines with their family, but isn't careful enough to ask the kids to park their devices back at home? The ultimate punch. If you had the chance to see the legendary Mike Tyson in his prime, would you take it? Even if it meant you had to travel back in time? Recently, a video has been making the rounds on the internet. It gives us a glimpse into the 1995 fight show starring Mike Tyson. And in the back, there's a slight glint. And would you look at that? A modern smartphone, perhaps even an iPhone, recording the fight in its full glory? Over the years, people have tried to come up with answers, but they haven't been able to explain this one. Maybe we did catch a time traveler in the act, but we're too late ourselves. Modern fashionista. Take a look at this picture. It was taken in San Jose Bay in 1917 and was featured in the book Cape Scott Story by Lester Ray Peterson. Nothing unusual, right? Just a piece of history in a history book. But take a look at the young lad seated at the cliff on the right. It's not only his clothes that stand out, but his expressions as well, as if he knows clearly he's been caught out. Luckily, he must have made it out safely, since we've yet to hear about a successful time machine. But his utterly modern attire proves he's not of that timeline. Slapstick hiccup. Who knew Charlie Chaplin movies could give us more than just a laugh? Here's a clip from a 1928 movie, and all you need to see is that one guy holding a phone to his ears, clearly talking into it, just behind the zebra. And that there, folks, is proof that time travel exists. But I'm more curious about how this time traveler's talking on the phone. Forget the cell phone. There weren't any cell towers or reception back then. So how? Well, if someone's able to travel back in time, maybe they're also able to come up with something that could connect to a phone. A wrinkle in time. This video supposedly shows a sports score from a game that hasn't even happened yet. A teacher was in the video, but instead of teaching the usual stuff, it was something completely different. The score from the Giants vs. Rangers game in the 2010 World Series popped up on the board. But here's the crazy part. This video was recorded years before. Experts swore it was not a hoax, but the camera work, the sound, and the picture quality were all too spot on. Sure, you could put on a sepia filter on a video to make it look old, but there is no tech out there right now that can make something this real. Spiritual embrace. William Hope's camera seemed to always catch a spark from the beyond. Just look at this. In 1920, Hope snapped a photo of an elderly couple, but they weren't alone. A ghostly towering woman in nun-like clothes appeared right beside them, a silent, uninvited guest. William was famous for these spirit photos, though many called him a hoaxer. After all, how could one man capture so many ghosts? But spiritualists believed in him, clinging to the hope that the veil between the living and gone could be caught on film. Sometimes the lens sees more than meets the eye, and this was the ultimate proof. The specter of Newby Church. The past always leaves a trace, and in 1963, Reverend Kenneth F. Lord's camera might have caught more than just history. While snapping a photo of Newby Church, nothing seemed unusual until the image was developed. There, standing tall, was a ghostly figure in monk-like robes. Its face was hidden behind a white shroud. People whispered it could be the spirit of a 16th century monk, perhaps covering a disfigured face. Some thought it was just a camera trick, but others believed the specter of Newby Church was a genuine encounter with something unsettling from the past. What are your thoughts on this? Combermere Abbey. In 1891, During the funeral of Lord Combermere, Miss Sybil Corbett snapped a photo of the library. When it developed months later, a mysterious figure appeared in the chair. It was a blurry, legless man, resembling the deceased lord himself. When the photo was taken, all the males of the house were not at home, and all the male servants were clean-shaven. So, with nobody else in the room, there was no logical explanation for the ghostly figure. Some people think it was just a trick of the light, but others believed it was Lord Combermere sticking around for one last look. The Green Man. Legends are often considered just stories, but sometimes you need to take them with a grain of salt. And the tale of Raymond is no different. Back in the 1910s, there were rumors about a spooky man haunting the streets at night, faceless and glowing green in the dark, and they called him the Green Man. Recently, an image of a creepy face surfaced on the internet which reignited the fears. But behind the legend was a tragic truth. In 1919, Raymond Robinson experienced an unfortunate accident that left him unrecognizable. To avoid people staring at him, he only went out at night, and that's how he got the nickname Green Man. The first UFO. In 1958, something strange was going on at Salem, Massachusetts. Early on August 3rd, Shell Albert, a photographer of that time, snapped a photo at the Coast Guard Air Station. The image? Well, there were 4 glowing, unidentified objects hovering above Winter Island and Cat Cove. While some believed they were just reflections in the window, others argued they matched reports of mysterious crafts from the same era. Sightings like this were common in the 1950s, but this creepy photo still keeps its secrets locked tight. Were they visitors from another world or just tricks of the light? I think we'll never know for sure. The Missing Hiker. Some paths aren't meant to be walked, and for Dalen Pua, the haiku stars in Hawaii may have been one of them. On February 27, 2015, Dalen set off on the Forbidden Trail, also known as the Stairway to Heaven, and never returned. He sent photos to his family during the hike, capturing stunning views. But one image hid something eerie. In the bushes, a mysterious figure seemed to be watching. Authorities searched, but Dalen was never found. Theories speculated he was being taken down by something otherworldly. Yet the exact reason behind this is still unknown. Alien Dipper. A family was out enjoying a perfect day in the mountains when something unusual happened. While the camera guy was casually filming, a strange object zoomed over their heads. So fast that no one noticed at first. It wasn't until the footage surfaced online that eagle-eyed viewers spotted something weird. Upon slowing down the video, a saucer-like disc became visible, flying above the family. Naturally, the internet went wild, with some claiming it was a visit from aliens, while skeptics thought it was just a clever hoax. But here's the thing. Back then, editing technology wasn't advanced enough to pull off something this convincing. So, what do you think it was? TP'd. While washing his hands in a hotel restroom, a man noticed something unsettling. 2 eerie eyes were peeking out from the tissue paper holder. Spooked, he quickly snapped a photo but didn't get any closer. Once the picture hit the internet, it sparked a frenzy of speculation. Some thought it was just a prank, a hidden camera planted by someone with a sense of humor. Others leaned toward the idea that it might be a ghost or some other supernatural being. No matter what the real explanation was, it was clear that the photo had given a lot of people the chills. Sometimes the scariest things are the ones we can't fully explain. A warm embrace. A photo of an ordinary cemetery recently went viral. But upon closer inspection, people noticed something chilling. Among the old graves, there appeared to be a tall humanoid figure standing beside a tree, holding a thurible and seemingly trying to hide. What at first looked like a peaceful scene suddenly became eerie and unsettling. Once this image hit the internet, the debates began. Some argued it was just an illusion, a trick of the light or the shadows, but others believed it might be something divine, a protector, or even Jesus standing watch over the graves. The Lost Spirit. I don't know about you, but this one sent chills down my spine. A photo from the 1950s recently went viral, showing the Cooper family of Texas on their first night in their new home. Seemed like a normal family photo at the time. But when the picture was developed, they were in for a horrifying surprise. Out of nowhere, a body appeared in the background, falling from the ceiling. The family swore it wasn't there when the father snapped the photo. What could it have been? Some said it was the bad spirit living in that newly bought house. But here's the truth. Well, it's somewhere in that house. The invisible cryptid. About 15 years ago, a Redditor shared a photo that still gives people the creeps. It was just a kid sitting in a room playing with toys. Seemed harmless at first glance. But then, in the bottom left corner, something weird caught everyone's attention. A bizarre creature-like figure seemed to lurk there, with a disturbing cryptid appearance. Skeptics tried to shrug it off, calling it just a trick of the light, but others were convinced. They believed it wasn't light at all, but an invisible cryptid, maybe even a skinwalker, sneaking in and avoiding detection. Whatever it was, it left everyone uneasy. The doorstopper. A man living in Alaska had been hearing eerie footsteps around his house for a while, but couldn't figure out what was going on. To get to the bottom of it, he installed cameras, and what they captured was downright terrifying. One of the cameras snapped a photo of a massive creature peeking through the gap by his front door. The thing was about 10 feet tall, covered in white fur, and looked like some kind of oversized stuffed creature. When this photo hit Reddit, the community buzzed with theories, with many speculating it was a Sasquatch hunting for its prey. Ghosteria. Sometimes the things we can't see are the ones that haunt us the most. In 2016, a 13-year-old with a cousin and his father went on a haunted house tour of Plas Teg in North Wales. Armed with their phone cameras, they scoured the grounds, hoping to catch something eerie. After an uneventful tour, a figure appeared in the boy's camera. But when he looked up, it vanished. He didn't sleep for weeks after that. To add to the chills, the road outside the mansion was notorious for crashes. His father even had a close call there. Coincidence? Maybe. But one thing's for sure, it left a mark on them. The Victorian ghost. Video from the 19th century hit the web, showing a mom filming her son biking around Oldway Mansion in Paignton, Devon. What she caught on camera wasn't just a regular family scene. Watching the video later that night, she spotted something eerie, an unidentified woman in the first floor window, dressed in old-fashioned Victorian attire with a bun and white cuffs. Despite being a skeptic, she couldn't explain the chilling figure. The authorities confirmed only security guards were present at that time. Then who was she? Well, the answer to this question is still unknown, and we'll never know for sure. Abandonment's regret. One night, a bunch of friends and a dad decided to do some ghost hunting out in the quiet countryside. They found a huge 3-story stone house and called it the Horseman Mansion. Later that night, while they were back home, they excitedly went through the photos. And then they saw something really creepy. In one picture, there was this figure, a shadowy presence with glowing eyes peeking from inside the room, which they hadn't noticed when they were there. It freaked them out, and they hurried to cleanse their homes to get rid of the eerie presence. Jane Doe. A chilling photo recently surfaced online showing a teenage boy holding his cousins. At first, it seemed like a regular family snapshot, but when you look closer, there's something unsettling. Right between the kids, a baby with dark, sunken eyes appeared to have posed itself for the photo. The boy insisted there was nothing between them. No baby, no doll, nothing. Experts even analyzed the image and were left stunned, claiming it couldn't have been manipulated. Xmas and O's. What started as a festive photo of Christmas lights quickly took a spooky turn. A Redditor uploaded a picture on New Year's Eve capturing the bright and cheerful decorations of their house. But little did he know that this seemingly innocent image would creep everyone out. One keen-eyed netizen spotted an eerie figure standing in front of the house, staring right at it in a disturbingly unsettling way, while some brushed it off, saying it could be a bird or just some oddly shaped branches. Either way, the vibe of that picture shifted from merry to freakish really quickly. Steve's vision. In a grainy 1950s civil defense film, students were performing drills on how to protect themselves during wartime. At first glance, everything seemed normal until someone spotted something bizarre. One of the girls appeared to be holding what looked like a modern MacBook. Zooming in, viewers even claimed to see a faint Apple logo. Could this girl have traveled back in time bringing her tech with her? Or is it just a case of mistaken identity, with a more mundane explanation for the mysterious object? Open discussion. A photo shared in 2016 by a group of World War II-era Iceland really captured people's attention and got them wondering. Taken in 1943, it showed what looked like a man casually chatting on a mobile phone. But the real shock is, mobile phones didn't exist until about 30 years later. The internet exploded with time travel theories, with some believers convinced this was proof of a time traveler caught in the act. Whether it's real or not, it makes you wonder, what if the past is more connected to the future than we think? Thank you very much for watching the video. Do like and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to not miss any of the upcoming amazing videos. Thank you once again.